So yeah, as Rose said, my name is Patrick Devine from the Northern Western Regional Assembly in Ballahadreen, County Roscommon. So we're the national contact point for the Atlantic Area Programme and the regional contact point for the Northern Permian Arctic Programme. So if you want to go to the next slide there, Catherine. So I'm assuming most people attending here probably are familiar with the ETC programs in general, but in case anyone is new to it, Atlantic Area is one of the 3 transnational programs that Ireland can participate in. As you can see by the geography, it's mainly composed of regions linked to the Atlantic with similar challenges in terms of economic sectors, culture, biodiversity, and the environment. Within the program and the projects, there's a very strong link to the Atlantic Strategy and the Atlantic Action Plan. In the last program, which was from 2014 to 2020, the total budget was 185 million. And in the new program, it's envisaged that the budget will be 151 million. Now, as you can imagine, this map is of the old program area because you can see the UK, England, Scotland, and Wales are still in it. So the UK will not be participating in the new program, and there's a reduction in the budget kind of as a result. But having said that, each of the member states have increased their contribution to the program, and I think that is kind of a demonstration of how they value the program and how it benefits organisations in each member state and in Ireland. So yeah, if you want to go on to the next slide there, Catherine. So as I kind of mentioned, the program is really characterised by its proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. The phrase "blue in our DNA" is a common phrase often used in the program because of the geography, the economy, and the culture. Marine and maritime activities kind of serve as a connection point in terms of fishing, agriculture, aquaculture, agro-industry, renewable energy, and the ports. And the new program will be looking to kind of fund projects under the theme of sustainable tourism, natural and cultural heritage, climate change, natural risks in terms of on the coast and waterways. But also the program also wants to kind of address the impact that COVID had in terms of the labour market inequality and structural change as well. So if you want to move on to the next slide, Kavit. So I appreciate this probably a bit difficult to read this, but this is a slide that was sent to us by the managing authority, and it really kind of outlines the themes for the intervention logic and how the rationale for the new program. And why how they're going to fund projects and how the themes will develop. So you can see the first one there, blue economy. It's really about the challenges linked to the economic environment development on the program area in terms of the economy and links to the ocean. The second one is really about resilience, both for organizations to be resilient in terms of economic development, but also in terms of climate change. The next one, kind of similar to what David was saying, is digitalization is going to be a big focus in the next program, both digitalization in terms of upskilling of the SME private sector, but also in the public sector of local authorities and regional and national government. Tourism played a big part in the last program and will continue in the new one as well, I suppose. Anyone that goes to the coast of Ireland knows that tourism is very important in terms of creating jobs in the economy on the coast. Biodiversity is obviously a very important one as well, and it wants to continue working in the maritime areas, but also to identify and work with the Natura 2000 sites across the program area as well, and trying to address things like maritime pollution and increasing plastics in the ocean and stuff like that. And then the next one then is efficiency, so increasing energy and resource efficiency in terms of renewable energy and the circular economy. And then there's an Interreg specific objective as well for the program under better governance. So, but apologies again, the text is so small, but when the slides are shared afterwards, you'll be able to read them in more detail. Want to go to the next slide, Catherine? So, yeah, as I kind of mentioned before, the program has identified specific policy objectives, similar to what David mentioned in his presentation. The European Commission, as part of their cohesion policy for 2021-2027, have identified 5 investment priorities, and Atlantic Area is going to focus on 3 of these, which is Smarter Europe, Greener Europe, and a More Social Europe. And then, as I mentioned, Interreg specific objective of better governance. And the aim is that focusing on these 3 policy objectives will hopefully address the challenges faced by the kind of this program area and increase collaboration with other Interreg and mainstream funds. I think that was identified as part of the challenge in the public consultation that took place last year, but also to kind of exploit the strength in terms of Atlantic cluster stakeholders. I'll go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, I suppose at the cohesion level or the European Commission level, the programme selected 3 policy objectives: the Smarter Europe, Greener Europe, and More Social Europe. And then under each of these, there's a priority and then a specific objective. And this is how the program is going to fund projects. So if anyone is applying for a project, they will be need to align it to one of these specific objectives. I won't go through all of them, but if you take, for example, the first one, Smart Europe, you have enhancing research and innovation capacities and the uptake of advanced technologies. And then 1.2 is reaping the benefits of digitalizations for citizens, companies, and governments. And the third one then is, or fourth one, sorry, is developing skills for smart specialization, industrial transition, and entrepreneurship. So you can see, I won't go through all of them in detail, but you can see that obviously digitalization and climate change adaptation and sustainability is 2 kind of big emerging themes from the specific objectives. If you want to go on to the next slide. So there's a public consultation that took place last year. I just wanted to pull out some kind of the key points that the managing authority wanted to highlight. So I suppose the first one is strengthening the link between coastal and inland areas. I suppose if you were to look at projects last year or the last program, a lot of them do tend to be obviously on the coast or in the Atlantic, but it was kind of identified that there needs to be more partners from and involvement from inland areas, because obviously activities that take place inland, such as pollution and stuff, also have an impact that results out in the sea as well and has an impact there. So there's a need to involve more inland areas. And I'll come to that later on. So I'm just conscious that maybe some of the local authorities or stakeholders here or organizations attending today might not be on the coast. It doesn't mean that you can't apply or participate in a project. The second point really is just to have a more transversality of several thematic themes in terms of, so it's not just focused on one thing like tourism, that there's an actual kind of a link across all of them in terms of the project that you're working on. I suppose the circular economy is often a good example, because it's kind of enhancing the competitiveness of an SME, but it's also addressing an environmental issue. I mentioned earlier the program identified that there's a need for better governance with other Interreg programs. There's also a need to have a better coordination and influence, I suppose, on the Maritime Atlantic Strategy and deliver the objectives of the Atlantic Strategy and Action Plan. Tourism, again, in this program will be going to be a big part of the program in terms of developing the economy and stuff. And also important to involve the ports in terms of their influence on the policy objectives as well. And then the potential of blue energy sector in terms of reskilling and upskilling, and to that in terms of the potential to develop renewable energy on the coast. On the next slide there. So I just wanted to show a couple examples of Atlantic area projects where Irish partners have participated in. This one is called Proto Atlantic. I think it's a very interesting project. It has 2 full Irish partners, UCC and Cork County Council. And the aim of the project is to develop and validate a model for prototyping and exploiting innovative ideas in the maritime sector. So they're really, I suppose, supporting startups and small SMEs prototype and develop ideas that, in terms of supporting them with mentoring and getting investment like that. So, and this, sorry, 2 seconds. So I think the image here is actually it's a company possibly in the UK called, I think they're based in the UK, called Seawave Energy, but they're testing this technology in the LAR National Ocean Test Facility in Cork. So I think this is a good example of how the project can bring together key partners from different areas in terms of, but also having that quadruple helix model of bringing together university, local authorities and SMEs to test out new ideas. So this project finished the end of last year, but I think it actually recently got an extension to continue into 2023. So the budget for the whole project, will actually be more than 1.85 million. So, but I think that's a testament as to how successful the project was. So a key output for this project was really working with SMEs and helping them bring from what they might have as an idea right through to proof of concept and to the market, and then hopefully to get investment. So and they developed a stakeholder platform for those SMEs to deliver those objectives as well. The next slide, please. So this project is called Atlantic on Bike. The Irish partners are Sligo, Donegal and Mayo County Council, and it's about advancing the Eurovelo cycling route. And I don't know if people are familiar with the Eurovelo cycling route, but it's a network of 17 long distance cycle routes connecting across the whole of the continent of Europe. But this project focused specifically on Eurovelo 1, which runs from Norway all the way down to Portugal, I think, as far as I know. So the project was really about, I suppose, developing, increasing tourism numbers and developing the economy by developing the promoting cycling tourism in the area. So some of you might have, I don't know if you've been on the coast, you might have actually seen the signs for the Eurovelo. It's a bit different compared to a greenway in that it's using existing roads, but like rural roads where there's not much traffic on it. So this was, I suppose, a very good example of local authorities coming together, working together, developing the signage, working with businesses in terms of how they can put in the right facilities for people that are cycling on this very long cycling route. But it's been a very successful project, and I think it's also going to get a project extension into 2023 as well. And the Eurovelo is also like a registered trademark of the European Cycling Federation. So they have like approved routes all over Europe. So this project was really had the European Cycling Federation as a project partner as well. So yeah, I just think it's a good example of a project program area. Next slide, please. So the new program, as I mentioned earlier, the program it's anticipated there's going to be 113 million. David in his presentation said that the program has already sent the documents for the Commission to review. I don't think the Atlantic area is at that stage yet, so a lot of the details are still being discussed. But I suppose the biggest change really in the programme is obviously the UK leaving. There's a few other small geography changes with Andalusia and Limousin in France being included. It's expected that the documents will be sent to the Commission relatively soon. Unfortunately, there's no dates yet of when the first programme or first call for projects will be. The programme does hope to use simplified cost options, similar to what David was saying in his presentation with Interreg Europe. So I think probably on a practical level, the main changes here will be there be no longer using timesheets when you're claiming staff time, so it'll be a fixed percentage. Well, similar to all the Interreg programs, it also will be the 15% office and admin. And then there's also a proposal to have 15% of travel and accommodation, similar to what David was talking about, based on the total staff costs. And I think the idea is that there would be an option so that partners can either go with 15% of the staff costs for travel and accommodation, or you can submit the actual vouched total cost in case, for example, the flights were very expensive or something like that. And the co-financing rate in this program is 75%. So yeah, next slide, please.